Tom Brady, greatest quarterback ever, greatest football player ever. Quick background, I'm a Patriots fan if you didn't know that already, so obviously I feel that way. Goes on to the Stephen A. Smith show and says the following quote. And I'm going to get you the exact quote because people have been messing this up. I think there's a lot of mediocrity in today's NFL. I don't see the excellence I saw in the past, Brady says. Now, that's usually where the quote stops. In most outlets, that's where it stops, and no one goes beyond that, right? Let me finish the quote. I think the coaching isn't as good as it was. I don't think the development of young players is as good as it was. I don't think the schemes is as good as they were. The rules have allowed a lot of bad habits to get into the actual performance of the game, so I think the product, in my opinion, is less than what it has been. Now, before we get to the actual merit of that quote, I have to defend my GOAT real quick because a lot of y'all got my GOAT fucked up. First and foremost, all season long, y'all have been telling me that Tom Brady is the sole reason for the Patriots' 2 decades of success. Magically, now that he has said something that has hurt your feelings, all that goes out the window and the goalpost moves again. But I get it. If someone was kicking my ass for 2 decades, I'd want to get my lick back too. So let's start piecing through the slander that's been thrown in my GOAT's way one by one, shall we? First of all, the rules point. The most common thing I've heard is, well, Tom, all those safety rules were passed to protect you. Complete and utter bullshit, and I got the facts to prove it. Ladies and gentlemen, would you like to know the amount of health and safety rules that were passed because of Tom Brady? 1. Uno. Singular rule. And I will tell you exactly what it is. In the year 2009, the Tom Brady rule was passed. In 2008, week 1, around the 3rd or 4th quarter, this is a very traumatic memory for me, after the Patriots' 16-0 season where they ended up losing to the New York Giants in the Super Bowl, Bernard Pollard of the Kansas City Chiefs launched himself into Tom Brady's knee, knocking him out for the entire season. So the following offseason, the league passed the Tom Brady rule, quote unquote, which says, and I quote, this is directly from the rule book, if a defender lunges or rolls at a quarterback's lower legs or delivers a hit with his helmet or shoulder, as Pollard did to Brady, he will be flagged. Fun fact, the same thing happened to Carson Palmer in the 2006 playoffs. Roughly 3 years earlier, ask Chad Johnson or Ocho Cinco how he feels about how that happened. Completely ruined their season and probably his best Super Bowl chance. So, next question probably is, so where'd the other health and safety rules come from? Glad you asked. 2017, week 6, Aaron Rodgers is sacked by Anthony Barr of the Minnesota Vikings. Anthony Barr lands on Aaron Rodgers at a weird angle, breaks Aaron Rodgers' collarbone, and Aaron Rodgers proceeds to miss the rest of the season. Following offseason, the NFL implemented a rule that states, and I quote, to protect the quarterback, players can no longer land on top of quarterbacks with all or most of their body weight while the passer is in a defenseless posture. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you tell me which one of those rules are more harmful towards defensive players trying to get a quarterback down. Matter of fact, if you've never tried to tackle anyone in your life, don't even try to answer. You're not qualified. I will answer this for you. You are asking 250 to 300 pound men to attempt to bring another grown man down against their will, while simultaneously, in the process of getting this man down, shift their body weight in a way that stops them from landing on aforementioned grown man. You tell me which one's harder. Both of those are roughing the passer penalties, by the way. And now, this is the main thing, the number one thing that has led to health and safety rules and how they are officiated now in the year of our Lord 2023. 10 years ago, in 2013, the NFL settled a lawsuit. The exact number is $765 million for a concussion lawsuit settlement. That following offseason, all the health and safety rules related to head-to-head collisions were passed. Defenseless receiver, hitting the running back in the hole with your head, all of those things were passed. You notice how those last two things have nothing to do with the words Tom or Brady? Oh, but sure, blame Tom Brady for everything. Just put it all on him. Now that we got that point out the way, let's move on to Alex Smith. Now, I was going to come on here and fire the chopper at Alex Smith, but he doesn't deserve that. He's been through enough, right? And plus, I get it. I'm entering into the sports media game myself, and if you know a little bit of how sports television works, in pre-production meetings or sometimes in between commercials, when they're going to approach a certain topic, they go to all the panelists and say, who has said take on what topic. They don't give the whole word for word thing, but they give like the general gist of what they're about to say. And you can tell, especially that's what happened in this case, because immediately when they come from commercial on NFL Countdown that morning, the host goes straight to Alex Smith on the Tom Brady topic and says, Alex, how do you feel about Tom Brady speaking on the mediocrity of the league? I'm going to paraphrase it because I didn't feel like getting the exact quote in front of me. It was just going to piss me off again. Something to the effect of, he played in the least competitive division in football for 2 decades. What does he mean mediocrity? Of course, I disagree with his statement. Again, I get it. The producers want the most salacious take. If you've seen how ESPN gets down the past decade or so, you know they're going for the most salacious take to create the most headlines, get the most engagement. That is their business model now. And it's not just ESPN. Every sports network, every sports content creator, except me, because apparently I'm hustling backwards. Everybody in the game, that's how they get down. So Alex Smith, I get it. This is the most we have talked about Alex Smith since he broke his leg. Damn it, I said I wasn't going to bring up nothing bad. Anyways, that's not even bad. That literally happened. But to Alex Smith, I say, hey, Alex, buddy, Tom Brady was in the AFC East for 19 years. Damn near 2 decades. If the other 3 teams in the division can't get their shit together in 2 decades, how the fuck is that Tom's fault? What they got to do with him? Is he the GM? Is he the owner? Is he in the scouting department looking for guys? I'm not going to sit here and argue the merit of how good the AFC East was my entire life and the length of Tom Brady's entire run, because that's a pointless argument. And I don't argue the merit of Tom Brady's career and trying to validate his accomplishments, because that's dumb. I don't need to do that. His career speaks for itself. The team that has the most rings, that has the most Super Bowl victories in the NFL in the history of the league is whatever team Tom Brady's on. Tom Brady has 7 rings. Number 2 is a 2-way tie between the Steelers and the Patriots at 6 rings. We are talking about the most successful football player to ever live. You want to debate greatest or best or all that? That's cool. I know I'm biased. I'm a Patriots fan. I'm fully aware I'm biased. So y'all know where I stand. You have your opinion. Cool. But you can't argue success. And again, according to y'all, all season long, all this is because of him. So I bring up the success to say this. And this is where we can bring back his actual point that he was making. If there is anybody in the world who is qualified to make this point, it is Tom Brady. But his main point wasn't even about the players if you actually listen to what he said. I will read it again. I think the coaching isn't as good. I don't think the development of the young players is as good as it was. I don't think the schemes are as good as they are. Words are as clear as day. There's video evidence of them. There is no fat to either of those sentences. He said exactly what he meant. But of course, because nobody reads or looks for context, they saw the headline, Tom Brady says mediocrity in football. All you see is Tom Brady saw Tommy DeVito and was fed up. Or my personal favorite, Tom Brady saw the 2023 Patriots and he decided he's done with football, blah, 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 blah. Completely ignoring his actual point, which is about coaching and the way players are developed, which when you look at it from that standpoint, he is 1,000% correct. Coaches do not develop players anymore. They teach their system. The difference is subtle, but hear me out. I'll give you an example. It might get a little nerdy, but just try to follow along as best as you can. You know why Trey Lance didn't work in San Francisco? Because in the modern NFL, the way that training and OTAs and practice schedules are set up, Kyle Shanahan could not simultaneously develop Trey Lance as a passer and teach him the Shanahan system at the same time. What do I mean by that? Coaches teach their systems. They do not develop players. The problem is when you're trying to teach a system like Shanahan's and you're dealing with a quarterback like Trey Lance, who by all draft experts is as raw as they come. There's some steps that are missing before you could process a Shanahan system. Practices used to be somewhere in the area of 3 hours, sometimes 4, depending on how crazy your coach is. I heard somebody say practices in the NFL are now 1.5, 2 on a heavy day, for those of you that are familiar with how practice works, there's not a lot of individuals going on, not a lot of individual sessions. And this isn't just the NFL. This goes all the way down to high school. In fact, I'll take it even further. This isn't even just a football thing. Ask AAU basketball players and parents how they feel about player development over there. So how does that affect the actual play on the field, where Tom Brady starts talking about bad habits? Another example, we're starting to see a lot more motion in these offenses, right? Where they're sending receivers and tight ends and running backs in motion before the play starts. Why is that? Many reasons, but this is the main one. It helps the quarterback ID the coverage before the play starts. In theory, if the person guarding the receiver you sent in motion follows them all the way to the other side, it's man-to-man. If they don't follow at all, or they only follow to a point, it is a zone of some way, shape, or form. In theory, more often than not, that is the case. That helps the quarterback make his read before the play even starts. I'm really trying not to get too nerdy on this, but screw it, we're already here. So if the read is, all right, if it's man, I'm going to throw this backside slant immediately because I know my receiver could beat him inside. And if it's cover 2, I got to hold it and see if I can hit this post over top of the middle linebacker, right? They're thinking that immediately the moment their receiver goes in motion. They have predetermined where they are going with the ball before the ball is even snapped. The problem is, doesn't always work out that way. So when you see an interception a quarterback throws and you're wondering, how did he not see that guy? That he threw the ball directly into the linebacker, safety, or cornerback's chest. Because he didn't. He didn't. He literally didn't. He didn't even think that person would be there because before the snap said this, and then after the snap said this. And before the snap happened, he already determined what was going to happen because his robot brain, because the coaches are trying to make all the decisions for them, said, hey, motion says this, coverage says this, you do this. Nothing beyond that. Quarterbacks are not taught how to ad-lib. This is why the top quarterbacks in the league, if you noticed, are all quarterbacks that are either mobile or know how to ad-lib. Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, all know how to ad-lib, all of them. So even in the system that you teach them, they can still work outside of it in case shit don't work out. And they also can make the reads post-snap in case what happens before the snap doesn't happen. So in general, that's the best example I can come up with for what Tom Brady is actually saying when he says that the mediocrity is happening in the league. And also these concepts are not being taught very well as far as helping them identify things before the snap. There's also just like a quality of how these concepts are being taught. That is also an issue, which is why you have things like Frank Reich getting fired after 11 games and